Hello, welcome to another episode of Family DynamiKs with a K with the Killmonds. And today we are joined by our mother, Mary Killmond, once again. So nice to have you here, Mom.
It's fun to be here.
Hi,
Hello.
Mom. Okay, just so we know who all's here. So that was Liz doing the intro. This is Katherine. Hello.
Ed's here.
And John.
Okay, and obviously Mom. Say hi, Mom.
Hi.
Okay, back to you, Liz.
So what we kind of wanted to get into this week was your origin story of coming west, how you got to California. Because I do know, working in the entertainment industry, I'm sure Dad experienced this, and I know my siblings do as well. A lot of times people ask, oh, where are you from? And when you say California, and then you say Los Angeles, and then even get deeper into the valley, people are shocked that we're native Californians. And that's all due to you and Dad. So we kind of want to know how you got here.
Well, my dad was, I have to go back further than that. Peter, one of my brothers, was handicapped. He had multiple medical problems when he was born, and they continued. And my mother said, Joe, you just got to make more money. Well, there wasn't.
Were you
help.
back east at the time when this happened?
Yeah.
So you were born back east.
Yeah. So
Joe. You're just going to have to
all of us were born back east, the 5 children. And
So is this Boston or where exactly?
outside of Boston. When we came here, we were living in Milton. And before that, we lived in Brookline, just off Beacon Hill. And the Marathon always brings it to mind.
Wait, you would see the Boston Marathon
They'd
in
run
your
down.
neighborhood?
Yep.
Did you join in?
Are you nuts? I was little. The saddest story of that was they used to sell balloons, and it was so wonderful. And I got a balloon, and I was dragging it home, and it popped, and it was just about as traumatic as it could be.
Obviously, you still remember it.
Oh
my God.
I was just, I just couldn't get over it. It's just like, it's all gone.
People are out there like trying to get through the 26.2 miles, and you're like, my little balloon popped. So you go watch it. That's so cool.
Yeah, we did. We did. And we lived above a hill, at the top of a hill. Downhill was the bottom, and the top of the next hill was Beacon Hill. So it was all, neighborhood. And, we had the best sledding. It was just...
Oh, because snow. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, it was fun.
What kind of neighborhood would you describe this as? Was it middle class, upper middle class?
It was Yankee.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Now, what Yankee means is wasps.
Oh.
White
Anglo-Saxon Protestants.
and...
Thank you, Eddie.
I only just had that locked in by some TV show
But
that I was watching. They're like explaining this exactly how you... I'm like, locking
So
that
say what a
in.
wasp
Thank you.
is again.
White Anglo-Saxon Protestants.
Yeah,
But
so
because you're
specific.
Boston Catholic, it's almost like Yankee.
No.
Oh,
Boston Catholics were looked down on.
really?
And my father was a genius buying houses. He always was. He bought the first house he bought out here. I'll tell you in a few minutes. But they lived in a boarding house, then they lived in an apartment house, and I don't know where else they lived. And then they bought this house, and it was 100 years old, and it was just gracious. You walked in the front door, and there was an area between the front door and the front door of the house. You could leave your overcoats and your galoshes and your
An entryway,
umbrella.
kind of.
Yeah. I mean, but it was
foyer, if you will.
completely separated, and the door closed. I mean, on both sides of it.
They have that in New York because of the winter weather.
yeah, weather-wise,
okay.
that's a...
Well, so was that a mudroom or...
No, it was very classy.
Okay, it was the classy version.
And then you walk
front of
in.
the house. Mudrooms, I think
traditionally
are off the back
the
or
kitchen
the
or the,
side.
like,
They're very
laundry.
often in the garage.
Right. Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Anyway, so, and then you'd walk into the foyer, the formal foyer, and up one side of the foyer went a sweeping staircase. It was, you won't even know who I'm talking about, but Loretta Young used to come sweeping down.
Oh yes,
on
like
one.
a Hollywood classic.
Oh,
entrance.
it was just
I wonder
absolutely.
if this house still exists. Like,
Does.
I want to Google
It
map it
does.
right now.
Yeah, you can. Anyway, because actually I went back to see it one time, and it had a fireplace in it, and a beautiful
In the entryway?
in
No,
the
in the
entry-
staircase.
In
No.
Don't
Thanks.
don't derail her.
That's not fair. Anyway, the floor as you can, and it was the size of my living room
Oh, wow.
now, and the beautiful, fireplace. So they have fireplaces in front hall, living room, dining room, master bedroom, and one of the other bedrooms.
Well, especially an old house, that makes sense. 'Cause
was
they need the heating.
100-year-old.
Decentralized heating and air.
Five fireplaces. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, it was lovely, and they had a third floor apartment.
Oh,
With
did
its
they
own
rent?
entrance?
Did they rent that out to somebody?
Yep.
Of course they did. The Grandpa Joe was very entrepreneurial, enterprising. He's
Yeah.
gonna make money.
It was you came in through the house.
Oh,
So they're very particular about who they rented it to. And we had, interesting, now that I think of it, he was a Protestant minister and his wife, they didn't have any children, but they had a Great Dane, which I used
Huge dog.
I
Yikes.
used to like to go up to the third floor landing and visit the dog and ride him.
how did it ever poo in the house? I mean, Great Dane craps are
Well,
large.
I'm sure they walked him. We never knew anything about
Come
any
on,
problems there.
a quick walk on the roof.
Yeah. Anyway, that house was really stunning.
And how long were you in that house? Because I do know that you seem to
One of the
move a
longest
lot.
times. One of the longest times we ever lived anywhere was that house, and then the first house in Pacific Palisades were the two longest places.
Oh,
But anyway, so Dad was working for a local firm who did automotive after-sale products like special cloths to wipe it to make it clean and beautiful again, and I can't even remember what else.
All the normal car accessories.
Yeah,
Waxes and
Yeah,
polishes
yeah.
and
Oh,
et cetera, et cetera,
okay.
kinds of things.
Gotcha.
Let's call the after-sale market. Anyway, well, and it was local pretty much. So he was home a lot, and when my mother said that, he got the idea he should try to get a national sales job.
so when Peter was born with multiple
Yeah, how many kids?
disabilities,
Yeah, how many kids? Give us a picture of the kid situation.
Well, three of us in, like, say, Joseph's.
Joseph, your oldest brother,
He was almost 2 years older than me, and then I was number two. Number three was Peter, who had the problems for his whole life, actually, and then the twins, and they were 7 years younger than I was. I was at the time.
Bit of a gap.
It was so phenomenal when they were born, but they were born in that house.
really?
before
I
you moved.
always thought
Okay.
they were California kids.
No, they were
Wow.
But they must have been really small when you moved here. Not to
Just-
derail your
just
timeline, but
just
yeah.
three.
Oh, just three. Okay, so
So I think back, listen to this. We lived across the street when we moved to Milton. Now, I don't even know what prompted that move. And we probably lived there 2.5 years or so. So I was 10 when we moved out here. I was 10, and the twins were 3, and they used to let me take them to the park myself.
Very different time.
I mean, can't imagine somebody that age handling twins. And they were Dickenses. My mother used to say they weren't twice the trouble. She said it just was astronomical, the difference between 1 and 2. I mean, they could think up things together that neither one of them could have thought up alone.
geez.
Devious.
Oh, she was sitting. This is when we came out here. So little sidebar that's out of chronological order, but a good illustration of the twins. She was sitting at a huge desk chair, one of those upholstered ones with the big high back, and
You're the president of the bank.
and it swiveled.
Wait, who was
Nice.
sitting in this chair?
My mother.
Your mother.
Oh, it's very dramatic. Turn around. You're fired.
Yeah, no, she wouldn't fire anybody. Anybody helped, good, keep them. Anyway, so the twins were playing quietly on the floor near her. She didn't think anything of it. She stood up and the chair fell apart. They had taken the mechanism apart while she was sitting.
What? Did they have little screwdrivers? How did they do that?
Oh, I don't know how. I have,
Gee, Ed, where did you come from?
I'm crafty like that.
Yeah,
and
that seems-
Grandpa was like that. Don't
Yeah.
forget too. So he's comes by it very.
That
honestly.
is like diabolical.
Oh, they were terrible.
Just be loosening the screws slowly as their mother.
With their tiny little fingers.
And I was like, what's gonna happen? It's like straight out of a
Yeah, they probably thought nothing of it.
Dennis
They were
the
just like
Menace.
messing around.
Yes, Dennis the Menace.
Dennis the Menace squared. It just was crazy.
Okay, so Peter was then born in Boston. They realized he had his disabilities, and they obviously started to handle some of them
he
there.
was in the hospital for how long when he was first born? Wasn't he in for
Yes.
like multiple months
He
or
was
like
in
a
for
year?
quite a while, and he had to go back because they couldn't operate on. He had a cleft palate, didn't get a split lip, which usually goes with it, but it was so bad they couldn't repair it, and they had to wait until he was somewhat older, and so we weren't allowed to talk to him
Oh, geez.
because we weren't supposed to encourage him to talk because he would cause himself damage, and when they finally operated, he could have destroyed it.
Oh, geez.
That's the strangest, most awful.
Yeah, what age was that?
2. I think he was 2.
2?
Yeah,
So when you're learning language,
he wasn't.
no, literally, but he wasn't. He didn't have hearing problems at that age.
No, he had them about 5.
So he didn't have hearing problems yet, and yet no one could speak to him. So he had a world of silence.
The social
Just kinda
problems.
hum
Yeah.
or, Yeah, no kidding.
You got to believe they've made advancements on that surgery by now,
Oh,
because
yeah,
there
yeah.
is no way. You almost want to counterbalance the damage,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
you're like, I don't know which would be worse. Okay, so then
Well, and also he couldn't eat, right? So that was part of why he was in the hospital.
There was a special kind of feeder that you could use, and it had a bulb on one end. It was a glass tube, and it had a squirter on the other end. It wasn't a normal, you'd suck on it because he couldn't suck.
It kind of sounds like
not
a turkey baster.
I was going to say a
almost. Yeah.
baster.
Exactly. And so Mom would fill it up, and Mother was not too good at things. Mechanical things were like, can you do this? She'd ask me to do it.
Nana, okay.
Oh, she was very good at not being very good.
You should
at
ask.
most
You should
things.
ask the twins.
Oh, they had much more experience with her than I did. But anyway, so Dad was away, not for very long, but she had been feeding him, and it would take her 4 hours
Oh, geez.
to get enough down him. And my dad said, what the hell is this? I mean, he was so practical. This is just plain stupid. So he said, okay. He said,
He was very gruff. Like his manner
Yeah.
was very like,
Oh,
bull
yeah.
in the china shop, straight ahead, just do whatever it is. Yeah.
oh, there are a lot of stories about that. But anyway, so my mom's sitting there feeding him, and my dad comes in and he says, this is stupid. What? And he takes the nipple off the end, the squirter part, and he fills it up, and then he just lays him down, pours it in, and sits him up. So he didn't have to suck or anything, just had to swallow it. And it worked.
And how old was he when this was happening?
Oh, baby, he was in the first
Yeah,
few
you had
months.
to help him figure this out. Oh my gosh! And so that's how he was basically fed.
Yeah. And so anyway, we're living in that house. My grandmother lived with us. We
Oh,
had
wait, what?
Whose mom?
off and on.
Your
my
mom-
mother's mother.
Your
lived with
mother's
us.
mother. Wait, I don't think I've ever heard anything.
Margaret.
Okay. Oh, that's my
middle
middle name. That is my namesake. I had no idea.
I didn't know you didn't know. Anyway, yes.
So that's your mom's mom, Margaret, was living with you. Why off and on?
Actually, she had 2 other elderly sisters, and they sort of rotated
Oh.
around living with their children for
that's
periods
interesting.
of time.
Don't want to burn anybody
that,
out.
That sounds great.
Oh, it sounds like a nightmare.
No. From the perspective of that sounds great, y'all.
Oh, it's like, yeah, we could put mom on a round robin tour
Oh, I'd be
she
really
could
busy.
not consolidate down her life
to
Tinny.
be.
like how.
No, you just pick a house that's your winter house and then leave all your winter clothes there. That way you don't have to repack your closet every
And then
6
come
months,
spring,
Mom. Yeah.
Let me
See?
get out all my embroidered sweaters
for
the-
Christmas.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Oh my.
So you're saying Nana, did her mom live with other siblings of Nana's? Who?
She had 2 brothers who were married, and she lived with them, but off and on. But she lived with us really close to all the time. The last couple of years we were in Boston.
Oh, wow.
But then are you also saying her sisters or your mom's aunts would stay with you or no?
Occasionally, yeah. Aunt
Occasionally,
Mamie
okay.
used to come to visit quite
Mamie?
often. Aunt Mamie, which was probably a nickname for Mary. But anyway, and she would come on the bus, and she would bring lots of pennies, because we thought that was very exciting, and chiclets in those little boxes.
The gum or the candy at that
Yeah,
point?
the little 2 squares that came in
Sure.
the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she was really the best.
Pennies and Chiclets.
Pennies and Chiclets. She was the best.
You were butt cheap, Mom.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're at
I don't think I ever realized that Nana had siblings or that they were alive or that you knew them. You've never talked about your aunts and uncles for sure. Not that I've ever heard.
No, yeah.
How
Well,
many siblings did Nana have in her family?
3.
So just the 2 sisters?
2 brothers, she said.
2 brothers and her sister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, 2 brothers and so she had 3 siblings. So there were 4 in her family?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I never had that.
And Grandpa had more, I think.
Grandpa
Yeah.
was one of like
I'm going to
13
tell you
or
about
something.
that in just a minute.
Okay.
Sorry, I was going to ask. So these are the Walshes, though, right?
That's right.
Nana's maiden name was Walsh.
And
Walsh or
Irish.
Welsh?
what else was the other-
Welsh? No.
No, it's Walsh with an A.
W-A.
I mean, just in case anyone wants to really do a deep dive and
didn't
steal
I
our
say-
identity.
Didn't I
What?
say Walsh?
You said Walsh, but I think I don't know. Now I can't even remember. It was 10 seconds ago. What do you mean?
We all said
I'm like
Walsh.
a goldfish.
You
What the hell did you bring in Welsh?
started trouble. All
I'm
right,
just-
moving
Because I
on.
was literally just at the St. Patrick's Day parade and someone texted me. It was like, "Are you Irish?" And I'm like, "Yes, about
We're like half Irish. 'Cause
Half Irish.
Also, Grammy on Dad's side was
3/4 because I'm half Irish and your dad was all Irish. No, that's
no,
not true.
that's not right.
He actually, every time your kids would tell an ethnic joke, you'd come home from school and you'd want to repeat some joke you heard, how many Swedes does it take to do whatever? And Frank would say, you're part Swedish.
Oh, would he
Can
say
I
that
just tell you
about
right now? When you
everything?
said when you come home and tell an ethnic joke, I was like, I
when?
really
I
don't
don't think
remember
I
us
ever-
being this racy. When you go, the Swedes, well, okay. I mean, that really.
But also, I don't remember any ethnic jokes making the rounds. I mean, maybe they did.
Because they never did in our house.
Well, good.
Just period, amen, end of story. He'd just say, "Oh, you're part Italian."
Well,
Did you know you have some Japanese blood? Or it didn't matter what it was.
We're like, oh gosh. Well, I will say when
That was his response to,
Yeah.
to get you to think about what you were
But
saying.
he actually had some German, English.
I think
and-
Scottish too.
Okay,
French.
It's
No,
good-
French is your dad's side.
yes,
dad's
your side's very Frenchy. Well, I'm happy to hear there's a little German in there because for some reason, when I said, "Oh, I'm about half Irish, I think, or maybe a little less," to my son, he goes, "I thought we were German." I'm like,
What?
"Where did you get this?" And he goes, "Aren't we German?" I'm like, "No." I go, there's probably a little bit of German in there just because of the Eastern European bloc, all the mix, everything. But I said, I don't think so.
no,
Maybe your
my
dad's
recollection,
side."
But
my
wait. Even when I was growing up, there was no mixing hardly. It was, if the guy next door was German, you didn't talk to him. And if the girl across the street was Costa Rican, you didn't talk to her.
So how'd you live in a WASP neighborhood?
That
hold
was
on.
my dad.
Yeah, but also-
he found this house, and there we were.
Yeah, no, stop. Don't go down that. That would get us forward. We need to continue this digression.
Hold on. All I wanted to clarify was so we're saying Nana 99% Irish,
Right.
Grampy French, all French, right? so
No,
how did
half
they?
and half.
Oh, he was half Irish and half French.
His mother was Irish. His
Oh, I
father
really
was
thought
French.
I thought he was all French. Okay.
and he was always full of it.
Well, yeah, because the last name is Couture.
Yeah.
So you couldn't get more French than that
I
of a
know.
last name, Couture.
well, related to the Guillaume Couture, that whole big.
which we're not.
Getting into that.
I'm even going to agree with John on that one. We're
Don't-
not going to digress on that one. That is saved for a later date for sure.
Okay.
Okay, so
So
clarifying all of her siblings, Nana's siblings, that was very interesting. Thank you.
yeah, well, that's. I don't know why we never seem to talk about that. So I used to love to talk about her relatives.
But it goes to the question that we started this whole podcast with, which is how did you get to California? Because we really were then an island unto ourselves here. We had no relatives
We
here.
were disconnected from a lot of that.
not
yeah.
really true.
Yes, that was our experience. Not really true. I mean, I'm sure there were some, but we
No,
have
there
cousins
was
around the
only
corner.
one. There was only one,
Okay.
and it was one
Aunt
of my
Katherine.
grandmother's sisters, and she lived out here, and her kids lived here, and they lived in El Monte, so we almost never saw them.
Wait, who was that?
And the one in the Christmas picture that Bob Willoughby took.
Oh my gosh, that
Oh,
famous
gotcha.
the two aunts
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
wedding.
You mean wedding picture, not Christmas picture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The wedding picture.
But So who's on what side? Your mom or your dad?
My mom's side, one of her mother's sisters.
But I
One
thought
of her mother's sister.
Yeah, that makes sense age-wise. Yeah.
but-
Well, there was an Aunt Catherine. Was that on Dad's side?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So
oh, but we were just talking about how your mom's sister, one sister, would go on round robin stay with you when you were in Boston.
Yeah. And she had more than, I don't know how many siblings my grandmother had, but there was a little group of them. Because I remember, you're not going to believe the story, but it's true.
John's like, so John, it's not Nana's sister. It's Nana's mom's sisters.
But that's who we were that's who we were saying. We were saying, okay, so all right, I don't know if I can paint this picture, but I'm going to try. So you, my mother, as a child, staying with your family, and so your mother, our Nana. So, all right, let's just do it from you. So your mother. So then your mother, her then mom, so your grandmother, would come stay with you occasionally.
Oh, more than occasionally.
Okay, this is more of a yes/no at the moment. But anyway, so she, and then also her sister Mamie.
Uh-huh.
So they would be this round robin staying with you.
And there was Bess. I just came
There's
to
another
me.
sister, which
Just came
was
to
I
me.
definitely heard that
cut
there
off. There
were
was
three.
that was
yeah.
cut off in the declaration of there were 4 siblings total. Wrong. There were 5, 2 brothers, 3 sisters total, including your mom.
Mom's mom.
No, my
your
mother,
mom.
there were 4 siblings. I don't know how many siblings there were in my my grandmother's family.
Okay, but but those are the people who would come stay with you.
Yeah.
Your grandmother and Mamie.
And Bess.
And Bess.
Bess came occasionally. And she had another, that I don't even remember her name. She was a character. And she
Got
she
it. So
wore
I think
makeup
we
all
got
the
our wires
time.
crossed getting that detail straight. It's just 4 Walshes, siblings of our mother, so her direct aunt and uncles. One aunt, 2 uncles.
Right. Right.
Grand aunts. No clue how many. Too many grand aunts. Can't figure that out.
I probably could find out that.
But the grand aunts would come and stay with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
And
then,
grandmother.
Grandmother and grandaunts. Got it. Oof, that was
So
confusing.
now to transition. So now in California, who is this person?
Yeah, who's out here?
A grand aunt?
I'm trying to remember her name.
Well, let's just establish. So
She's one of the
Grand
the
aunt.
grand aunts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grand
All
aunts.
right.
Not
So-
the one sister.
So you're one of your grandmother's sister.
Yeah.
Sisters, right? Got it.
I don't know. She probably married somebody and moved out here. I mean, nobody seemed to move out here at that point.
But let's talk about your family moving out here. I'm gonna circle back, car pun, to where your dad now wanted a national job with the after car parts
Market something.
company.
So what he did was he found this company that was producing what's called a hydraulic lift, and you can put it under a car, flip a switch, and the hydraulics will lift the car up so that you can work on parts of the car that otherwise you'd have to have a bay, one of those holes in the floor with the midsection big post.
So you could have a normal garage then, basically, and have.
Well, most garages absolutely had to have a couple of bays, but you could only do 2 cars at a time.
And this is like in the 50s, so this is a lot less
Yeah.
prevalent anywhere, whereas like nowadays, just every single neighborhood mechanic has a lift inside their garage. So.
Yeah, and I got news for you. It probably all started from the company my dad was with.
Do you want to sidetrack?
What?
All right. This is slightly less family. We don't have to go all the way down. Which company was Bear?
I'll get to it.
Okay.
Well, okay,
Okay,
great.
I'm gonna make a note.
Yeah, keep
I'm
notes
gonna
on all
make
the
a
things she
note.
says she's going to get back to. Because
Okay.
damn it, I want her to get back to it.
So
So he was working for this bay lift company, and he was traveling all over the United States, even went up into Canada, and he was gone 6 to 8 weeks at a time.
holy moly.
And I had a wonderful relationship with my dad when I was little. I mean, because I was full of it. He liked that. And I got away with murder.
Well, and also in the kitchen, you guys were both very excited about that.
Yeah, I loved being in the kitchen with him. It was like being with the ringmaster. I mean, he'd just tell us all what to do, and we'd be
Right.
running around. And
He
it
was a great
fun.
cook.
He was fun.
Yeah.
and he'd take me on his on his shop calls even sometimes. I mean, he just, it was lovely. And then he did this new job, and and I missed him so much. And he'd get ready to leave, and I finally got the idea. This is going to be another one of those long things again. And I started crying, and I got in a whole lot of trouble Yeah, that's what he's doing, and don't be crying about it. And blah, you keep crying, and I'll give you something to cry about. That was one of the things he used to like to
Did
say.
he, though?
He didn't, but Mother was fed up with me.
Oh, God. Did she tie you to a tree or something?
Yes, she did.
Oh, gosh. I mean, the Lord.
That was in the house that we were in. Well, that's where we lived at the time, in the 100-year-old house.
The Milton house.
Could you imagine driving down the street and there's this kid tied to the front, a tree in the front of the house?
Yeah,
keep driving.
Back of the house.
Oh, good.
And beside the house.
back of the house. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Side of the house was a walkway from the top of the hill where we were down to, I can't remember the name of the park now, but it was at the base of the Beacon Hill. And I'd just take off, and I would go at 3 and 4 years old. I just disappear for hours.
Like walk the neighborhood? Like where would you? What do you mean? Just goodbye?
I had all kinds of friends in the neighborhood.
That you would go visit or something? Like what are you
I
talking
talked to
about?
them when they were outside gardening, and
Which you still do now.
and
Yeah.
Nothing has changed.
and so
If we allowed you, you'd be gone for hours on end.
It's a big loop. She's back to her old ways. That's for sure.
Oh, my gosh.
Did you tell anyone where you were going back then?
No.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't have been left out of the house. Anyway, there was this, oh gosh, a second ago I had his name, but there was a man down the street, and we used to get in big conversations.
Oh.
So my mom gets a telephone call, and it's his wife. And she said, let's say his name is George for memory's sake. Anyway, George is very ill, and he requested Mary to come and visit him. And my mother didn't even know who she was.
Who he was? Or she?
Oh, yeah,
they
she's
were.
like, I don't know what my daughter's been up to, so I have no idea who you are.
Yeah,
Oh,
so they
geez.
got all that settled. He was on the same side of the street
Oh, good.
in
At least
the
you didn't cross
neighborhood.
the street. Good job.
And Mr. Pepper, that was his name.
Mr. Pepper.
Yeah, Mr. Pepper. And you called adults Mr. and Mrs., so it was Mr. Pepper. And
Yeah, that
so
has faded away to some degree. It's interesting.
people call their parents, hey, George,
Well, like Ethan calls you guys.
Yeah.
Liz
Liz
and
and Mark. But
I
go
love
on.
Mr.
So Mr. Pepper.
So
requested
anyway,
you.
And so they settled the whole thing, and I said, can we have a mass said for him?
How old were you when you were requesting a mass?
Well, I was probably about 4.
I was going to say 4. I'd like a mass said for Mr. Pepper.
Well, I mean, that's what you did. And my mother said, oh, we can't. She said he'd be insulted because there was so much prejudice against Catholics.
Oh,
And we're
because
in
he
a
wasn't Catholic.
And we're in a completely waspy neighborhood. So that would have really raised hackles, and it's not a time to do that. So,
Oh, because he was Protestant, and if you requested a Catholic mass for him, that would have been considered insulting.
I think you're very fortunate. We're grown up here, and at this particular moment is a time of what's called ecumenism, where all the Christian sects will talk to each other and are not promoting prejudice against other Christian denominations. And it's much more what Jesus would have done. I mean, he was...
But that was not true back then.
Oh, not at all. I mean, it was just as violent and as virulent as, the worst of what we think of as ethnic prejudice.
Well, any religious prejudice as well. I mean,
Well,
there's a lot of that
become
still,
violent.
for sure.
I mean, they're terrible. I mean, look at Ireland. Anyway, so we went to visit Mr. Pepper, and we both wore our best clothes, and my mother waited downstairs while I had a visit with him. Oh, it was very sad.
On his deathbed?
Yes.
And you were 4 years old?
Yeah.
What words of wisdom did he bestow to you?
I have no idea. It was just lovely. I remember it being very, very formal and very sweet.
You must have really made an impact on him.
At the age of still about 4, I was really getting bad. And I decided I needed to visit my great-grandfather. He lived not too long away. I really don't know where. And I left the house and went to my great-grandfather's.
But you didn't know where exactly he lived?
He didn't live any place like on our street or any place, probably in the next town. And I got there, and
You got there.
I got there, and
She's Mary Killmond.
I mean, she probably,
Get outta
like,
here.
I wonder if, some people have a really good geographical sense just built in. They really can tell where things are just
You
by-
wouldn't know it from the rest of her life that I experienced, but okay.
anyway, Aunt Bess and my grandmother were there taking care of him because they were his children. And they said, "You can't be here now." And they put me out.
And they had no idea how you even got there.
As I remember that was like so alarming. And I guess they called.
How dare they? Do
I mean,
you
they
realize
probably-
I walked here
yeah,
unannounced
they-
as a 4-year-old?
They probably thought your mom was outside or something.
Do you know, I didn't get over how distressful that was, that I didn't get to say goodbye to him till I was like 40.
Wait a minute. So was he dying right then?
Yeah, he died.
And you
Very
just
shortly.
instinctually
Just
knew that?
Just knew. I needed to go see him. And he may have been thinking of me. He used to come over and take me for walks, believe this or not, but it's true. And he would come all dressed up. My mother would dress me up. I had this little velvet coat. It was just, and I had a muff. And put
The muff is like the little thing you put your hands in,
Yeah,
right?
Right?
Like,
Not everybody in Southern California knows what a muff is.
also, it sounds like it might be something else.
It has
but
a
yeah.
different connotation to some people. So
They know what earmuffs are, but they didn't realize that it extends to other parts of the body as well.
Just-
hand muffs.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, let's clarify a hand
So
muff.
anyway, so I had this whole little outfit, and he'd come over and he'd wear spats.
Oh.
Honest to goodness,
His
spats.
fancy shoes. Wait, are spats the shoes or the
No,
part
it goes
above
over
the shoe?
the shoe,
Oh, and it buttons up the side.
It actually, what it does is it protects your shoelaces from leaking on your feet when there's
Polish
water or snow or whatever that would get on your shoe.
what year is this?
Oh, I was 5. Figure it out. Anyway.
That's not helpful enough. Ed,
Okay.
do you
No,
know
it's
these
fine.
numbers?
Okay.
Okay.
Late 40s.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, okay, her mid. Anyway, so I went, and we would have discussions about the stock market.
With this 4-year-old?
He just talked about adult subjects. I don't know. And so I came home one time, and he'd taken me for a walk, and I had on one shoe.
One shoe? Wait, what happened?
And my mother said, "What happened exactly?" And I said, "It fell off." And she said, "Well, why didn't you pick it up?" And I said, "Well, Grandpa was talking."
I can't interrupt. We're moving along and talking. I can't say, "Excuse me, my shoe has fallen off."
There was no time to interrupt him. Did you go back and get it?
Wait,
No.
What
I
was
mean-
your grandpa's name? I don't know.
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Grandpa Shay, I think.
Grandpa Shay.
Yeah.
Well,
We called you.
I thought-
Sorry, go ahead.
this was great grandfather. I thought. we were
Yes,
talking
he was
about.
my great grandfather.
Oh, your great-grandfather.
I didn't know either of my own grandfathers.
Oh.
Mom's dad had split the scene very early when she was about 4.
Oh, really?
And my dad's father.
I know. Ed's head is like spinning over there.
my
Like,
dad's-
what?
Who left where, what, when, what? What story's that?
Oh, that's another story. That's a
I
very
gotta write that down, everybody. Okay.
sad, long story.
I mean, we haven't expressly said this recently, but part of the whole reason for this podcast is to get all these stories down because some of them we know, some of them we don't know. Apparently, it's a lot.
And
that
if
we don't
anything,
know.
also to encourage you in your own life to start having these conversations and ask these questions.
yeah, get these questions asked out there.
The assumption that you know your parents, let's just say the assumption is incorrect.
Yeah, you probably know just a tiny percentage. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead,
So
Mom.
abandonment.
and she said he would come occasionally, unannounced, and leave $1 or $5 in the sugar bowl.
Wow.
No, there was no alimony in those days.
Or
They-
child support.
They didn't get divorced,
Didn't get divorced, but he was out and gone, whatever.
and he had a new wife. So
Oh.
I guess after X number of years, you can.
No, not technically. I think that's just called bigamy, but okay.
I think after.
We have bigamy and abandonment in our family history.
Oh, probably. Anyway,
I love it.
and the second.
No, that's incorrect.
His second.
And twins. And then our father's in a soap opera.
Anyway, that's pretty funny. Anyway, so what was I telling you? So anyway, we lived in that house until probably I think I was 7. Yeah.
So he'd started the national job.
And he was gone for weeks and weeks at a time, which was hilarious because he wanted your sock drawer in certain order. He'd check these things when he came home. And my mother couldn't have cared less. I mean, if it's in the drawer and it's shut, that's all I require. And
Did you guys have help?
Well,
because
we
your
had
mom was not
Grandma.
really up
We had
to task on these kind of things.
Oh no, she had she had a lady who came in by the day.
By the day.
And I loved her, Mrs. Casey. Mother wasn't very affectionate. And Mrs. Casey was just the sort of woman you'd like to have as your mother. You know, she was kind of round and very jolly and affectionate and, sneaky little treats.
What was Nana up to if someone else was
God
taking...
knows, I don't know. Reading, I think.
Well, Nana, I mean, like our observations of her as kids was very much like, I'm going to sit in this recliner or this chair in the corner and eat Cheez-Its and do the crossword puzzle
Have
and have
whiskey.
my sourdough toast.
And answer every question on Jeopardy.
Was it a whiskey or was it a scotch?
Scotch on the rocks.
I mean, scotch whiskey, but
Yeah,
like,
scotch,
it
you're
could
right.
just be a straight whiskey.
Wait, sourdough toast.
Oh, Pioneer bread was her favorite from when they moved out here. And I used to get thousands of points by bringing back Pioneer bread every time I went to see her.
It's just so funny because, you think that was an evolution of she'd been a hardworking mom, hands-on, cooking, whatever, and then it went away. No, she was never cooking and never cleaning and just maybe always doing the crossword puzzle.
Well,
I don't know.
Can you imagine? I mean, with her father disappearing, her mother had to go to work, and that meant rudimentary eating and really poverty when she was young. Really poverty. Well, when she was really young, he had gambled away the household furniture. I mean, he just did.
Was he an alcoholic? It sounds like.
No, he was gambling addict.
Okay.
And he evidently got over it. And he got a national job in Washington, D.C., and Nana would not move with him, which I think was wise because she had family here, she had support, and
Did you call your grandmother Nana?
Yeah.
It's so much like we called your mom Nana.
That's why I had to have my own special name.
You're like, I'm not being another Nana.
What?
Come on.
Should have been a tradition.
She, no,
Anyway,
thanks,
like that.
according to
She
mom.
named-
No.
These names are bananas.
Well, it's so
Banana,
interesting
nana,
'cause
nanas. Sorry.
Didn't Nana, your mom, have a very fancy quality? I always thought she was very
yeah.
fancy.
she was elegant.
I mean, what was that story where they were like flat broke and she found $5 and they went to a restaurant?
wait,
okay, sorry.
Yeah. That is
That's totally true. That was one of my favorite tales. Anyway, but they had wealthy
relatives.
and they would give them their hand-me-downs to wear.
Oh.
And so they were in very good taste for the neighborhood she lived in. But
So does this cross over? Because the story that I half remember of when your dad was wanting to court and eventually marry your mom was, he had to approach the Walsh matriarch or something, right?
oh yes, no, I think
But who was that?
that was my mother's great grandmother.
Wow. Whoa.
Your
Okay.
mom's great grandmother.
Yes, and she lived in Connecticut.
Oh, wow.
And we used to, now that I've, you waited about 5 years too long because I've lost some of the names. But anyway, great-grandmother was now bedridden. She'd broken her hip, and that's what it meant in those days. They really couldn't do anything for them. They just ended up being bedridden. And she would watch the races on television. She smoked. She would have
the
her little
races,
drinks.
like horse
behind-
races?
Oh, yeah.
I assume?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
And-
okay.
And we'd go down to visit her maybe every year or something. And we'd go down, and there were other relatives to visit with, so that was fine. And then we'd go up to see great-grandmother, and we'd go up and have a little visit with her. And we'd be leaving. She said, well, good riddance to bad rubbish.
Oh, geez.
She wasn't serious, but it seemed like it as a kid.
So, but winding back, so when he approached, didn't he play up the French aspect? But why was that good? I don't remember.
It wasn't good because the French Canadians were just, how could they be any good at all,
Because she was so Irish that she was, okay.
And so he goes down, picks up my mom, they go down to visit the great-grandmother, and he wears a beret, and he fakes...
What?
And he fakes a French accent.
So that's where you get it from.
Oh.
Okay.
And, she's
my
just...
God.
And then all of a sudden just busted up at himself, and they ended up being the best of friends. I mean, she was spunky like that, so she could appreciate him. But my mother was practically having fits.
Yeah.
And so was this the Shea great grandfather as well, or is that a separate?
No, that is
Because she was a Walsh. She was the Walsh.
I think
people.
she was a Dre.
Okay.
A Dre? That was their last name? Sorry.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and I think she had been married twice. She got married, she had a bunch of kids, and then got married and had a bunch more kids. And the cousins were evidently loved to torment my mother. But she was about 10 or 11 or something. And she used to always tell this story about how they would lock her in the chicken coop.
The cousins would?
Yeah. And the bantam rooster would take off at her, chase her around. I mean, it was very aggressive. And, it was a great story, and we were always very amused. And then a picture of it turned up one day, and you could see her braids standing straight out.
'Cause
She
she was
looks
running.
like she's terrified. She's running, and you can see the bantam rooster. It's just...
So not so funny.
You didn't make that up. She was a great storyteller. She really was.
Oh, Nana.
She had a lot of amazing qualities, and she sang beautifully.
Really?
Nana did?
She did. She did. And I remember, I can see it at this moment. She's out beside the house in Brookline, the 100-year-old house. She's pregnant, and she's singing and gardening. I mean, it was just...
Wow.
Well, actually, they're including.
I'm sorry, Mom. That's The Sound of Music.
Yeah.
She wasn't pregnant in The Sound of Music.
Mary did not get pregnant in The Sound of Music. Wasn't that the problem with Maria? Sorry. Maria was a nun, Eddie. How dare you? I was going to say, well, listen, that actually it doesn't surprise me that Nana had a great voice because obviously it's been passed down, including myself. And then you have been complimented on your voice, and your brother had an amazing voice,
He did.
and his children both can sing beautifully. And our
Michelle.
cousin Michelle, shout out to Michelle Soignet. She can sing the Ave Maria.
Oh, she's,
That way,
she's really talented.
we can't go into the Ave Maria history in our family.
How about
No.
Helen? That side of the family
Yeah,
also.
no, that's
because one of the things that brought my parents together was music. Because
Right.
my father could play the violin very well.
Ah, him and the freaking violin. The one thing I asked for in life.
Yeah,
Didn't
and
we call it a fiddle, though? I mean, I don't know what the difference between it.
So Irish.
No,
I just play
mean,
the fiddle.
and the other thing was the French horn. And I wanted to take violin lessons. I never got them.
Wait a minute.
And I picked up the horn on my own.
What?
Finally, because nobody was interested in because I didn't like to practice. Anyway, so they said, no point in trying to get you
So
to do
you'd
this.
ask for violin lessons like I had.
Yeah.
So generationally, we're denied our musical
I think
ability.
we should go take them together.
My gosh.
You could still learn.
I can't wait for that to be happening in the house.
It's never too late, Mom. Let's get that chin.
You and me.
It's like,
Okay, I hate to get you back on track because I love all.
wait.
Oh, sorry.
Further digression. Just to come back to singing for a moment.
Really?
Yeah. Well, whatever. Our mother, you, are known to sing, especially at mass, whenever anyone else is singing, it's not that. So was anybody else? Did your mom do that? Or
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that was a
Embarrassed
learned.
me, to death.
So you learned that
Oh!
behavior, though. Good job.
Well, I love to do it. I mean, I understand it now, but I didn't understand
now,
it then.
as an adult with children, and I'm sure you can relate, Catherine, by the time you get to especially like Christmas Eve Mass, you're very tired. So, Mom, you're famous for basically nodding off during church. And our favorite is when you nod off, hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn,
Well, now is this?
holy night,
Sorry, yeah. Continue.
silent.
Okay, we get it.
So now, is this story getting confused? Because
Is it?
Let me ask the question. Of once midnight mass, or as midnight mass being an example, or are you saying she would do that even when it was a 9 or 10 a.m. mass?
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it
I'm
didn't
asking
matter.
about the falling asleep.
Yes,
thing.
always. I think always. Mom, you felt
Not me.
No, the morning falling asleep
I did.
is
I did.
okay. Sure.
I mean, I remember when Elizabeth was born, number 4. Her brother was 4 and 3 months, so they were pretty close. And they were all lively, and this is really a non-chronological digression. And I would be, taking care of them all day and get dinner and get it on the table and sit down and we'd say grace and I'd fall asleep. I I remember hitting the table more than once.
Mom. But I mean, you could understand.
Wait, so you said
yeah.
4. Is
You
that
got-
James? The oldest was only. So you had 4 that were like under 5, basically. Yikes.
Anytime you could sleep, you would do it. So yes.
Well, I didn't have any choice.
So yes, John, I have
I sat
memories.
down and went to sleep. That was just automatic.
I have memories of Christmas Eve and non-holiday masses. It happening quite often as a kid.
Yeah.
So daytime were better. I mean, the evening mass was a real push, but
And something else I'm sure you don't know is that my mother and her sister, who are close, had an act like they entertained at weddings.
What?
And
okay, wait.
Who
What?
did this?
What the hell?
my mother and her sister.
So which sister?
But my mother was not, she really had a hard time with that. You know how people don't like to public speak, they'd rather die. She had a nervous breakdown because of it.
What?
Okay,
Well, which
what the-
sister? And how are
I
you
think-
even aware of this?
I think her name is Margaret, too.
So wait, you see, yes, because there's a namesake, Margaret, but that's a sister. So Evelyn and Margaret had a roach like vaudeville.
Yeah, so, no, I mean, they're not at vaudeville, but in their local communities.
What would it be? Singing and dancing?
Yeah. And they really were, I mean, they were very popular.
So like the Lemon Sisters from
but there were 4 of them.
most people are
No. It's White Christmas. It's sisters. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah. You never had such devoted sisters.
Oh, wow. Okay. Holy
I
knew
mean,
you
this-
didn't know that.
that is mind blowing.
Well, so see, to me, it's not a happy story or a funny story. It's
Because
a sad story because it
she didn't
caused
wanna
her
do
so
it,
much
yeah.
pain
Yeah, because so how long did she do it for
And why
before
did
she had
she
the
do it
breakdown?
then?
Yeah,
until she was 19.
to
I
earn
mean,
money for the family.
during sometime maybe about 14, she had a breakdown and then went back to it and had another breakdown at 19.
Oh, geez.
So was she doing it to help raise money for the family?
Probably, I'm sure.
You had to go out and earn money, basically, without any alimony or child support, and $1 or $2 being left in the sugar bowl is
Isn't
not
that
enough.
awful?
Because what did her mom do for work to bring money into the house?
She was, there was something that is like a typewriter, but I can't remember.
Stenograph?
Not a stenograph. It was,
No, we're all mispronouncing
it
it
was,
wrong.
Well, a stenographer, but that's like for court.
Stenographer.
Well, right,
Court
yeah. There's
reporting.
a separate like machine that's more just like taking minutes, corporate type. Is that what we're talking
yeah,
about?
yeah. And she went and got trained for it. And, it was adequate to keep them alive. Because women never, I mean,
Yeah, how would you?
what women would get paid to do the exact same job as men was ridiculous in those days. I mean, the
It was like 10
disparity-
cents on a dollar or something
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, it was just nuts. And
So then that probably makes sense that, your mother would then have to go out and bring money into the household, and a marketable skill would be entertaining. And so her sister did enjoy doing it, unlike her.
evidently,
I assume, yeah.
yeah. And oddly
When you
enough,
say a nervous breakdown, what do you mean?
I mean, she just couldn't function. I mean, she just, she did. It'd be like what we'd call, someone having such a severe depression that they just couldn't function. They used to call it a nervous breakdown. So I don't know what the exact description of it is, but and then she also found out when she was 19 that she had an abscessed tooth. Now this sounds so weird, but that meant she had an infected tooth that was draining into her system consistently, and that acted on her as well.
Of course.
Yeah. So
Wow.
so that was, but I remember as a kid, they would have parties. They would get so dressed up.
Oh, I thought you knew they got so drunk.
Probably that too. But the women would wear like ball gowns.
I remember in Nana's closet as a little kid going in there and just remembering kind of like, as a little kid, you could go into an adult's closet and sort of get back in there and hide in there. And Nana had this section of sort of gowns that was like taffeta. I distinctly remember going through, and I would think it was with you, Katherine, but Rosie and I were much more the Dickens. We'd go in there and there'd be taffeta and longer ball gowns. And I remember thinking, I want one of these so badly.
She was very glamorous, really.
Yeah, they were gorgeous
Well,
dresses.
she had a
in there.
lot of jewelry. I do remember that. A lot of big costume jewelry type
Thank
of
you,
stuff.
Dad. And a lot of it was real.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, he would buy things for her when he was away, and and I'll come back to that in a second. But they had these fabulous parties, and My dad could play 2 instruments. My mother could sing. They had his brother played
Eddie,
a
right?
different kind of horn than his.
Uncle Eddie.
Uncle Eddie. And then somebody else played the piano. Several people had.
Where would they have these parties?
Oh, in that fabulous entryway.
Oh, so at your
living
house.
room. My dad was the hostess with
Were you
the host with the most.
Were you the top of the stairs just looking down on all of it?
Through the banister.
Yeah.
The little
If
cracks
you
in
laid
the-
down on the floor, you could see a lot, and you really weren't noticeable.
Oh boy, something's never changed. We pulled that in our house, our
Oh, yeah, for
childhood
sure.
house, to watch TV mostly, not see a fabulous party though.
Oh, and they would roll up the rugs so that you could dance. And, it would go on until 3 or 4 o'clock in the
and
morning.
everybody smoked back then too, right?
Oh, and drank. And
The smoke just seeping into all the kids' bedrooms.
Of
Well,
course.
and this, I feel like a big party is not a good example, but was this also the silver gin fizzes?
Oh, no, that was Christmas morning.
Oh, Christmas morning, right. Sorry.
What's a silver gin fizz?
It has an egg and I think whipped cream and gin. And I don't know, they're delicious.
Oh, okay.
I made them for Kathleen one time. We had the best time.
I just remember your
And you-
dad was so particular about how things were made, and we were at Farrell's one time, and they were supposed to
Which
make
is
him
an ice cream parlor, yeah.
semi-defunct. I think there might be one left in I don't know where.
If
somewhere.
there is one, it's like in way Southern California or Costa
So it was
Mesa or something like that.
It was a
yeah.
very fun ice cream parlor atmosphere, very high energy, whatever.
If you had your birthday party there in junior high, you were the shit.
Yeah, and what did he want? Not a
frap.
a frap, not a float. And they try. Go for it if you remember the story.
Oh,
go
I
for
remember I was sitting there with a couple of you kids, and we decided we'd go in, and he decided to have a frap, and they didn't make it right.
it. Oh no, I remember that. Yeah,
Here's
sure.
this ice cream parlor. It's their whole business. This is not a frap. Let me show you how to make a frap. And
he went back
and
there.
helped them make a frap.
Which has egg in it or something, right? Or,
No, it's just-
Is that
it's-
why? That's why I was thinking of it. But
No, yeah, I don't remember what's in it, but not everything you think.
he was
and
such a character.
it's the way of doing it, and
Well, and aren't there, look, up to you. I don't know what path we want to go on for this where we are already.
Part 1.
But
Part one. We're
isn't
not
that-
even in California yet.
Yeah, but just as a cap on that, aren't there many stories of him going into the kitchen at restaurants? Yeah.
oh, he went into kitchens in Italy.
But we have to give a little context because I was out to dinner somewhere recently, and I brought up the fact that this is why I brought up the fact that we're born and raised in California, and my mom's family moved here, and I go and they owned 3 restaurants, and I said it was the Beef, the Counter, and 7 Seas.
How did you even remember that?
Those-
That's
is that
impressive.
correct?
You gotta lock those in.
The Big Beef,
The big beef.
the 7 Seas, and what was the other
The
one?
Counter.
I don't think that's the name of it.
What was the breakfast place that you worked?
Where were these?
Oh, that was just inside the
cafeteria.
Cafeteria.
7 Seas.
Yeah, and that didn't open till 11:30. But
What-
the Counter opened at 7, and I
Was
ran
Big
it all
Beef
by
the
myself.
one? Was Big Beef the one that was on Wilshire?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then
so
he had one
I
in
at
the
least know where that
Palisades.
is.
And there was one in the Palisades?
Yeah.
So in context, him going back into the kitchen and telling people how to do things.
Oh, he knew what he was talking about.
There was an element of authority about it.
Yeah.
But he was a charmer because I remember the Farrells being mortified he was doing it because I think I was in junior high and everything mortifies you at that age. And it's so embarrassing. And of course he comes back out and all the staff is drinking a frap and they're all like, thanks a lot, Joe. These are great. We're going to make them a special. And it was like, what? But remember he made his own lemonade. He was the first person I ever to see kind of some slices of lemon and a glass of ice water. And the sugar would come out and he just would make his own lemonade at the table. And then they would try to charge him. And he's like, no.
I made this.
I made this. You're like, but you used all of her ingredients. No. It's like, why don't you get some ketchup and make your own V8 here at the table too?
Oh, he used to do this stuff.
Oh my God, I can't.
He was terrible. Anyway, that was after he'd been a salesman. And that's really where he learned all the tricks of the trade because he ate out every night
Right.
for 6 or 8 weeks. And he'd find places that he thought were fabulous. So he'd ask, could he go back in the kitchen and talk to the chef and blah, blah. And he learned
That's
all
how he
kinds.
learned?
Oh, absolutely.
So, such a schemer.
What was his education level?
Well, high school.
So really, it was that type of hands-on.
Yeah. Yeah.
dig in, personal, one-on-one, learning
And
that type of
sales.
education.
I mean,
yeah.
so you,
And the entrepreneurial spirit idea of like take all that information that he's got and turn it into a business.
okay, so I'll get you to California.
Wait, quick question.
Wait a minute, yeah.
But, so just as a whatever, but like, did he, as far as being in the kitchen and learning how to cook or whatever, is that something he did when he was growing up? Do we have any idea?
Don't really know.
So it was more of just the bull in the china shop extended to the kitchen.
Well, if you think about it, he was number 12 of 13. He had several siblings, didn't survive the first year, which was not unusual in that time. And his next younger brother was Eddie, who was 7 years apart.
There you go.
Oh, how weird.
Oh, yeah, that was no accident.
That's the same spread here.
Yeah, yeah.
Where was there no accident?
No,
where,
no,
where,
I mean...
where in the scheme of things was Joe? Was he like
Why
a middle?
are we so off track?
I'm not off track. Are you kidding? Let's just recall that I'm ADHD. Remember, I don't have any rows. I don't have any squirrels. I mean, I don't have any... I can't even remember it right. I don't
Nailed it.
have a row. I don't have any ducks. I have squirrels, and they're everywhere.
I don't have my ducks
Yeah,
in a
okay.
row. I just have squirrels, and they're everywhere.
No,
There-
it does not say that. It
No,
says-
no, I was recontextualizing it so
The
they understand
un-ADHD
the initial
version.
phrasing.
Never heard that before.
That is
Okay.
very funny.
Somebody gave it to me from Christmas about 3 years ago, and I've had it where I can see it at all times.
Oh my god! Well, I think your father was ADHD too, undiagnosed.
And he probably was also
manic.
hyperglycemic.
What?
does that mean? What do you mean?
Hypoglycemic means your sugar
Yes.
business doesn't work right, and so he'd always have things in the car that he could eat that were protein. That really helped him
Oh.
because he'd drive a lot of times.
It's almost like the modern version of hangry. I mean, and some from our family members have it worse than others. So if they have not, I mean, Ethan, my son, has it. I mean, if he has not eaten at a certain point, I mean, and he'll get so mad that you almost can't convince him to eat,
Yeah.
but he has to eat something
Yeah, yeah,
because his blood sugar's gotten too low.
yeah. And a dad had that too. Your dad, he was just.
Let's have let's have all the diagnostic
We'll do a
elements.
separate episode that's all about the various medical problems that have crossed over from generation to generation.
I have a very funny story about that just happened recently where I was like, not my side of the family. And it was like, oh shit, I was wrong.
There are a couple of us
maybe.
wearing glasses at this table, so that is also like
Mine came with mature age. And
The glasses, you mean? Yeah.
Yes.
I wore glasses when I was a kid, partly because my eyes did what yours do.
She's indicating to Eddie.
I have an astigmatism, or
Yeah.
had. Or, no, it's back.
It came
Oh,
out.
it went away. It's back. Oh,
If you're really
Look
ti-
straight at me, Ed.
Hey.
No, whoa,
Okay, so just for my own edification, your dad, Joe, in the 13 kids, where was he? Was he
second last.
second
Number
to last?
12.
So his brother Eddie, Uncle Eddie, that was the youngest of the 13.
Yeah.
Okay. Just,
And so who knows what went on, with his older siblings.
but wasn't
They
that all?
cooked probably. I don't know because I didn't ever meet my grandparents. From
I
his
do
side.
have a little bit of an idea that Grandpa Joe was constantly like working. Like there was a lot of working. Sorry, I'm snapping. I'm like, he's out there like doing job like from young.
There's a picture of him. He's old enough so that when he was a little boy, really little, like maybe 1.5, 2, boys wore white gowns, and lace-up shoes.
yeah, they're awesome.
And he's out there with a shovel. So I mean, he was doing something outside some chore.
Oh, that's amazing.
At 1 had to.
But
You
yeah,
can
I do-
walk, so
I
get
do-
out there, kid.
That's about right.
I definitely have the idea that he was constantly like working, trying to make money from like early on, like buying this and selling it to other people and like.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should stop there because it's on that note that he was always moving.
So
That I think we should stop there. Part 1. We did not get to California yet, but we will.
Part 1 of the Mary's backstory, Genesis. Next episode, Exodus.
now the
Nice.
last of the Genesis is that house, that 100-year-old
Beacon
house,
Hill.
and then we had one in Milton for only 2 years, and that's when we moved. And it took me a long time later to piece together what happened.
Okay.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun. We're going to stop there, everybody, because obviously, as
There's
like
so
I said,
much.
I mean, there was a two-sister singing act. That alone, forget that I've made the abandonment, probably bigamy. I mean, wow. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. Before we pack up and go to California. Okay, I can keep going. So
we'll wrap it there. Thank you all for listening, and definitely please subscribe. And if you could comment and leave us 5 stars, that would be great. And you can follow us on all of our social media at Family DynamiKs with a K for the Killmonds.
And don't forget about our Patreon.
Yeah, our
Subscribe to
Patreon.
that.
That's where we'll get into the bigamy and abandonment.
Some of the
Maybe, yeah.
details.
Okay, that's a good idea. All right.
Thank you all for listening to
Family
Family
Dynamics.
Dynamics.